there. Welcome along to the midweek special here at Big Notes Get Bites. I'm Cherie, and thanks if you are tuning in. And especially if you have stayed with me the entire month of September to be celebrating and engaging and developing and nurturing your voice as part of the Get Gig Fit 30-day action plan. And of course, we're October now, so that means that we've successfully completed it. Celebrate, good times come on. And I just wanted to have a little reflect on the days that have been since we had our last live stream. Shout out to a couple of peeps that commented on a few things, and also to make a couple of announcements. Now, it's school holidays at the moment, so if you see little people running past or any crazy going ons, I'm trying to position my body, which is kind of weird that I'm actually managing it, to cover the tent that is set up in the background of my lounge room. It's school holidays, what you gonna do? But it's great. I do love having kids, and I love the fact that I have a passion that enables me to be at home with them in the school holidays, should I so desire. In saying that, I do look forward to moments where I can bust out, because it does get a little bit cabin fever-like. And tonight I will be busting out with my husband, Godfrey de Groot, and we are going to the Silver Scrolls, which as an artist, a musician, a performer, this is the biggest night of the year, in my humble opinion, in some ways bigger than the music awards from the performer's perspective, because it's a songwriting specific competition, and there have been 5 finalists, and they get their music reinterpreted beautifully, curated under a particular person, a musical director. And our musical director for tonight is Nathan Haynes, the amazing Nathan Haynes. So we're excited, and we will be glamming out. So I'm a little less than glam today for 2 reasons, because I'm getting glam later on tonight, and because it's school holidays. So anywho, just a little intro while I make sure that everything's working and I can see it all is. I don't want to keep you for long, as always, and especially have mentioned to my kids that I'll keep it to 20 minutes so that they don't have to kind of hide. But I did invite them. They could come on if they want. They're both great singers. They could share some tips and maybe testify to the fact that doing these 30 tips definitely helps me, and then I do them. Okay, so I'm not going to go over the last 25 days since our last live stream, but remember, you can still at all times at this point in time get the Get Gig Fit 30-day action plan checklist. And what that looks like is it's a piece of paper with all the days outlined in a little checkbox, and also it's a hyperlinked to the playlist of all the tutorial videos in their entirety, so you can watch them. Now, let's talk about what's been in the last few days. So day 26 is a really important one for me, and one that I took a lot more seriously this month, being in the middle of a tour. And so a little bit of background about me. I have been a professional singer for 25 years, but last year I decided I was going to slow down a little bit and focus a bit more on my vocal coaching business, which is just my passion. So with that in mind, it meant that come September, before I kicked off the tour, I didn't feel as gig prepped as I usually would when I'm performing all the time. So these steps, I followed them, near on religiously, apart from one day, which literally backfired in my face on stage. But I told you about that last week, so you can go and watch last week's live stream. I'm moving on. But in particular, the 72-hour rule, or checklist prior to performing. And just to kind of run through them, it's a focus on your hydration and maybe pulling things out that, including nutrition, and pulling things out that might trigger you. So for some people it's dairy. I try to limit the caffeine, because in recent weeks, in fact, since I've been touring, I've ended up having to go onto some kind of hay fever medication, which I've never done as a long-term or preventative thing. So everything's a little bit drier, and I'm that much more mindful of having to rehydrate. And so anything like caffeine, you want to be pulling out anyway, and increasing your hydration, including steaming. The other thing was speaking voice mindfulness. Now, this one I have been doing, and I continue to do for ages, which is we mentioned this, I think it was day 5, so it's early on in the Gig Fit 30-day action plan. It's just really being careful about what you're doing with your voice. So not shouting. If you are at gigs, making sure that you're utilizing your technique and placing your voice wherever the pocket of sound might be. So if it's a bass boosted club, it's adding a little bit more, I call it twang, or a little bit more of a nasalized sound to cut through without having to shout or try to continue in a speaking quality, which often doesn't cut through. Being mindful of excessive talking, throat clearing, and of course keeping up with your sirens. Releasing tension daily. I'm reading because there's a million notes. Which are your singer stretches, the daily meditation, and your silent giggle. And if you do choose to have massage, just being mindful around the fact that because there is lactic acid sometimes released or toxins released, you can feel a bit funky as they work their way through your bloodstream. And if you're doing that the day of the gig, it can make you feel off. So you just want to really be careful of those 3 days prior. Performance prep. I'm just giggling because this is maybe the one thing I didn't do. Making sure you know everything so that you can go on stage feeling pretty comfortable. And also the same with the gig or event logistics. So just that you're not having to worry about like, oh God, am I getting to where I'm meant to be? And all those little small things that just can add stress when you just want to focus on smashing out a good performance. So that's the 72-hour checklist. The other thing, day 27, I like to think about things I call prep steps, and it's just an acronym. The first P stands for perceive, or use perception around how you're feeling on the day, and then add in what you need or take out what you don't need. And I think these are just good steps for life, actually. The R is once you've done a little bit of a check-in, say your neck's feeling a bit tense, then the focus is to release tension in the specific areas or to just relax, whether it's adding an extra meditation session and whatever. The E is engage. Be really focus in the moment. And again, this was something that I didn't do at my last symphony performance and just went so far off the rails it wasn't even, funny. So that was my thing. I was doing all the things, but I wasn't engaging in the moment with the music. And sometimes you forget that, so it's a balancing act. And you still need those reminders, though. Then the final, and the engage can also be like with your singing exercise, your practice, or whatever it is that you're doing. And then, of course, the final P is to add practice in to make sure you perform regularly and to be present. So the same thing again, it's just a reminder. So PREP, your prep steps. Then we had, I'm trying to go as quickly as I can. Then we had day 28, which was the ragdoll. Now, that is basically just standing up and flopping forward by the waist, being careful if you've got any lower back or back issues in general, and just kind of shaking it out like a washing machine. Taking a deep breath before you do that and exhaling as you go forward. When you are, it's just a simple relaxation tool, but it's really specific and it stretches out your hamstrings and loosens up your neck and your head and your upper body and your arms, areas that are around the larynx and that can provide support or add tension. It's also a great, what I call a channel changer. So when you do multiple things, whether it's working a day job and then running to a gig, or being a mum or a vocal coach and then running to a gig or into a session, it's almost like you need a little something that just changes the channel. And that's what the ragdoll is for me. So that's a secret weapon. Here's another secret weapon. In fact, the last two are secret weapons because I think we just don't talk about these enough. And these successful people, like the Beyoncés of this world, do this kind of stuff. So day 29 was talking about having an inspiration playlist. And essentially, I'm just saying refill your creative cup. So when I work with my artist development clients, we talk about the 4 C's that operate regularly as part of the creative process. So it's consume, collate, create or craft, and communicate. and these different phases often take focused attention in each area. It's really hard to what's called context switch. Now, all of these sort of ideas are in an ideal world that you'd have X amount of time to craft and get better at your performance and create the music that you're about to go into the studio and record. And then you go in the studio and you record the music. And then there's the tour, or there's the promotion and the social media carry on, the marketing and the promo. And then you play the gigs. And then you relax and rejuvenate and refill your cup. Now, that's an ideal world. I know it doesn't work like that. But the pressure that we place on ourselves to not allow an opportunity to reflect, to rest and reflect, which is actually day 30's point, review and refocus, or to, oh, hi, Nathan, I see you there, or to just refill your creative cup, because you will get burnt out. You cannot continue to create or have any kind of creative output with any quality of, consistency of quality if you're not taking some downtime. So the creation playlist, or inspiration playlist, I should say, is just one tool. That's like having a playlist of songs that you listen to. Either it's New Music Friday on Apple or whatever playlist on Spotify. Collate some songs, even if it's old stuff, to remind you of what your inspiration, where the creative springboard, the inspiration springboard started, what really got you into music or loving music. And I had to give a shout out to, on Instagram, it's Amir Co. He came up with a great idea, which is, it's the same concept of, he said, mainly I have some role model musicians, not just listening to their songs, but also watching their interviews about their life and getting inspired about the daily elements around being an artist. We don't see enough of the true behind the scenes. I think we see a very glossy view of what the people that are successful in music are actually doing and what else is going on around them to support them. So watching those kind of interviews is great. Watching documentaries, and often it's retrospective in the sense of like many years ago. But we're catching up, I think. Younger artists or more contemporary or current artists are documenting and really showing what goes on in the everyday of crafting, but also making sure, my whole point was making sure that you do have an opportunity to refill your cup and then review and reflect. So day 30 being review and reflect, have a look back on the last 30 days and think about what worked really well for you, what tips you loved. Share them with me. How could I have helped you better in getting inspired and working towards getting gig fit and feeling confident about your vocal performance? I wanted to take this tiny moment, because I'm only going to keep you for 5 more minutes, to make a couple of announcements as well. Now, this whole process, this live thing, I have really enjoyed it. I am going to do it every week. So every Wednesday at 2 o'clock New Zealand time, whether that's daylight savings or not, depending where you are in the world, I'm going to come at you for about 30 minutes and I'm going to go deep into certainly the topics that I've seen people talk about the most or comment the most within the Get Gig Fit 30-day action plan. I'm going to go heaps deeper into that. And I'm also going to record a video and write some notes and give you some resources to support things so that we can go a wee bit deeper. One of the cool things is that I did a poll recently and I asked people what it is that they wanted more help with. One of the topics that came up, I gave you 4 choices. Thank you, by the way, if you answered. The top choice that was selected was knowing how to warm up your voice effectively and how to look after your voice. So I thought, what I'll do is, rather than try and rush through a 30-minute segment, on the 19th of October at 11 o'clock, I'm going to host a 2-hour live how to vocal warm up masterclass or workshop. So I'm going to open up registration to that on Friday. But if you are super keen and want to get in the wait list, let me know by commenting either in the comments here, or you can DM me or email me, Sheree@bignotesgetvotes.com, and I'll put you on the wait list and let you know as soon as the registration opens. But that's a chance for me to be live in we're going to go in a dedicated Facebook group, private Facebook group, and I will show you how to warm up your voice and a few other bonus things as well too. And then you'll have that recording that you can go back to and look at, and you'll have the resources as well. So I thought that's probably a good way of doing things. I love working with an online medium. Firstly, because that's how I learned voice initially when I studied at Berkeley online. Changed my life. One of the tools that I utilized there and that I integrated into my own coaching is video performance reviews. So obviously if I was doing an assignment, it would culminate in overlaying techniques onto a song, and then I would have to record myself performing it and send it to my lecturer, who, by the way, is Pink's keyboard player. It was just amazing. Anyway, that's a story for another time. But what that taught me is so much about that reflection, that process of, okay, what's going on with my body? What am I was sort of able to perceive and be aware. I have some perception around how I was holding myself in some of my, what I call default settings. So that is a huge tool that I offer to my my artists who have gone through a lot of the fundamentals with me in person as a way of reviewing and reflecting. The other thing that I do is I do online Skype sessions. So I see the power of not being restricted to having to go somewhere if you can't make it. And a lot of the artists I work with tour and need, to check in whilst they're away. So that is a great tool. The third thing is there is only one of me. So what I'm thinking about doing is recording all the fundamentals that I utilize in my coaching session and making that available to my existing clients first, but also as a new singing course. So you might have known in the past I had a singing course called Sing Smarter Starter. Shout out to the peeps that were on that. I really, really had a good time making that. But I've learnt tons more. And since I did that a few years ago, and I want to integrate some of the new techniques and tips that I have. So in 2020, I will be doing that. And it'll give anybody who isn't in Auckland an opportunity to work with me. Plus, I don't know if you know, but I actually only have 9 slots in the week, sometimes even 6. Currently, I'm working on a project on Fridays, an artist development project. So that, in fact, 2. So I only have 6 slots where I can see people. And that it's really hard for me to be able to help you, So online is a great tool, both from a pre-recorded perspective, because it gives you a chance to consume the fundamentals, and then utilizing any kind of video performance review, if we're not seeing each other one-on-one, gives you a chance to try out the fundamentals and get me to review and give you feedback. And the review process is so much fun. I kind of utilize like a screen in a screen. So I get your video up on the screen and it's playing. As it's playing, you can see a little box of me in the corner, and I'm going, oh, I'll pause it and I'll be like, there, that vowel, try shaping it this way, or relax your jaw, or tilt your chin down, or blah, blah, blah. Whatever coaching technique is relevant for the time. So those are 2 amazing tools, along with the online Skype sessions, that I'm going to really offer up a little bit more to everybody in the future. So that is the announcement. You heard it here first. New singing fundamentals course coming in 2020, maybe the first quarter, if I can get my A into G. But before that, a voice workshop or masterclass showing you exactly how to warm up your voice safely and effectively, and as a bonus, how to keep it in good working condition at all times and look after your vocal health. Let me know what you think. Last but not least, can I give you big mad love and props for giving me some time out of your day and for training me 30 Get Big Fit action tips, because they really work, and accumulatively they will build up. That's like the little 1% increments that you add on will build up, and they will make a difference down the track. You got to put them into practice. You got to be aware of them. Remember those prep steps, and keep moving forward. Keep working towards getting that confidence in your vocal ability. And if you need extra help, then that's what I'm here for. So lastly, a reminder, I'm going to be back next week, and I will post tomorrow a list of what we're going to be looking at each week and focusing on, going deeper into, taking a deep dive. And if you have anything that you want to specifically focus on, you'd like me to have a chat about, let me know. DMs, comments, Cherie at Big Notes Get Votes. Thank you once again for your time. Have an amazing day, and hopefully I might see some of you at Silver Scrolls tonight.